I loved having such a natural conversation with Kat because I discovered that her and I are really, really similar, really spiritual, and the practices that we do that allow us to build these 7 and 8 figure companies are truly, truly the things that actually give us the quote unquote success that so many people strive for. And I've left all of the links to all of Kat's information, her courses in the show notes. She is amazing, and I'm so grateful to have an incredible under 30-year-old female entrepreneur just like myself here on this podcast today, because I've been really looking for more awesome guests to bring you as I get more back into doing the Impact School podcast. So I'm grateful to have you here. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to do so. And I'd also love to invite you to get free weekly live coaching on all things scaling your business from the consultants and the coaches that serve my private clients at Impact School. 100% free. You can get it if you just go over impactschoolpodcast.com/free. You can get in there for free. And with that said, my name is Lauren Tickner, founder and CEO of Impact School, and let's get into today's episode. Okay, so today we have the queen of not only XL, but also short form content. So Kat, I've been looking forward to this podcast for the longest time, and it's been so interesting how you've been able to, and you are a testament that anyone can do this, combining, for me, something so boring with something so entertaining that goes so viral. So tell me this in just a couple of short sentences. What is your secret sauce to making such viral content consistently?
Thank you so much. I mean, I would say the secret sauce really is linking in creativity, but also an element of polarity, right? So when I first created the content, it was combining things that are not traditionally combined, like Excel and dancing, for instance. So I think the polarity of that caused a lot of conversation in terms of virality on social media, but then also having kind of a cool creative spin definitely helped with the algorithm.
Okay, so a lot of people will hear that and they're gonna think, I just don't want to dance on social media. So do you feel like it's possible to do this without that element to it? And if so, how would you, have you ever done that in the past where you've, and because I can link these pieces of content in the show notes for people to check out, but what would you say others could do who are maybe in more of a space where they don't want to be dancing? Or should they just let down their ego and just do it?
So absolutely do not need to dance. I would actually recommend not dancing if you are not called to dance. So to take a couple steps back in terms of why I combined Excel and dancing is because I really took an inventory of my life and I was like, what lights me up on the planet? And really for me, it came down to helping people, Microsoft Excel, and dancing. So for me, combining things that were, authentically aligned with me and then putting those together in a video is what I think really made it take off. I feel like, though, if people are not into dancing and it was showing up inauthentically for them, then it would actually hurt them from a content perspective. So I feel like just the underlying thing is it's different for every person, right? So like what lights up each individual person and then kind of finding your unique spin from there. But that being said, too, I do have content all across the board. So I have some content where I'm just speaking. I have some where I'm dancing. I have some where I'm doing both, Depends on the day of what really comes out. But I think it really just comes down to what feels good for the person making the content.
Okay, so I want to talk about your extremely impressive business in a moment, okay? But I just can't help but go deeper down the rabbit hole of this content piece because nowadays what I'm seeing, especially when investing in companies and looking at potential deals and different clients of ours that we want to maybe purchase and do strategic acquisitions with, is I'm looking into the media piece. And what I'm noticing now is that when you have a really solid audience, this is an incredibly valuable asset, especially if you own that data yourself through an email list, phone number list, maybe blog site, newsletter, etc. So let's go slightly deeper, right? Now, you mentioned whatever comes out on the day, okay? So for me, I know that if it's all dependent on me, then we're going to be all over the place, right? My personal brand and my company brand, I can't have them super together. Otherwise, one time I'm going to be like doing something myself personally in business, and then it's going to be nothing to do with what my clients and prospects actually need, okay? So how do you structure your team? That's the first question. Second question is, what does your scheduling method for your content look like at the moment? And again, I just want to give everyone perspective. Like, go and check out Kat's social medias right now. Just type Miss XL into any platform, you'll find her, right? She's totally found everywhere. And I really want to emphasize why I'm asking these questions to someone when this is quite a common, normal question to answer because her answers are going to be different than what you hear from other people. And that's why, Kat, I'd love to know those two things, team and then structuring of your content.
Yeah, so from a team perspective, we have expanded recently in the last like year or so. And so I have someone, a virtual assistant, remotely doing customer service. I have another one doing, and this is all part time, doing some help with content creation. So, like the screen recordings of my videos and things like that. I have a part time video editor and I have a part time graphic designer. And then I also brought on my boyfriend full time as sales. So, between the two of us, we're the two like full timers. And then I also have a team of people doing like 10, 15 hours a week with some of the other parts of it. And then in terms of structuring the content, a lot of it for me is really intuition based. So I kind of feel into what people are looking for. I take a look online at what's trending, and then I meditate to get different ideas and then go in and create that content. So it's not as like strict for me, like I with a posting schedule and all that. I kind of use social media as like a tool to be able to reach people, and I don't let it really like control my life in that way, you know? So I kind of just go into it as like, all right, like this is an intuitive hit. This feels really good. I think someone's going to like this, and post as I feel called.
That is wild. You have such a lean team. That is seriously impressive. So you've literally got like 4 or 5 part-time people, and then you and your partner. That's it. That's crazy. Are these
Yeah, yeah.
people based out of Philippines, USA, South America? Where are they mainly based out of?
So three are in the US and then one is in the Philippines.
Which one's in the Philippines? Video editor.
It's the graphic designer, actually. She was my first hire, my Jean. She's so amazing.
Wow. Okay, this is crazy. I can't believe how lean your team is. Wow, I'm very, very, very impressed right now. Okay, so you do you read through the comments on your social media platforms? Some people are super anti that. Personally, I love to read the comments because I think it gives me ideas. But how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so I mean, typically on content I post, I'll go through the comments. Whenever I'm going like viral in the media, though, it's kind of impossible to figure out, things like that. Like if it's like a press article or something, that's a lot harder for me to actually go through comments. But things that I post, I always try to interact with people. I learn things from the questions they ask. We start little conversations on there for sure.
Yeah, yeah, okay, cool. Fine. So those are the more boring questions. Now let's talk about what you just said. You go viral in the media. Um, I remember one time, this is so crazy because like back when I was in fitness, this used to be like people now I learned about the whole world of PR, and we actually have quite a good amount of clients who have PR agencies whereby it's paid to play, right? You get in the media and then that's that. But I remember like one time waking up to like loads of WhatsApps from my friends from school. They're like, "Oh my gosh, Lauren, like what's happening? Congrats!" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then one of them sends me the link to like these women's health articles and all this stuff, and I'm, oh my gosh, what just happened, right? And it's just such a huge way to get mass reach. And obviously you're really smart because you have your Excel courses that you sell on the back end. So when you get that top of the funnel hit, you have a system on the back end to convert those new leads and that new audience into customers right away, which I just think is always building the back end to the business first, something which is a scalable model. This is just such a good way to have a robust infrastructure. But how did you get these viral trends going on? Like, what was the main thing that they were going crazy about?
Yeah. So, I mean, all the press I've gotten has been fully organic. Like, I've never paid for press. I've never reached out for press. Everything always just kind of flowed into my inbox. And for me, it was really just kind
Right.
of mentally setting the intention. I was just like, okay. I remember when I first started the business, I was like, this would be great if this was picked up by the media. And I was like, I'm just going to do something that will make it media worthy, right? So I just put my head down. I was like, I'm going to build this thing as big as I can, as fast as I can, serve as many people as I can. And then I know I trust it'll find itself into the right hands, right? And so Business Insider was one of the first like bigger ones to pick it up right when I started. And then what really took off to 50 global news outlets was when I was on the Verge podcast with Nilay Patel. And that turned into an article that then got picked up by, tons of different media outlets. And then it kind of filtered out to Forbes and all the different places. So I feel like it was really the podcast actually helped a lot, like the different podcasts I've been on. And then those are also all things that I just kind of attract in. I've never done like outbound reach for podcasts. I kind of just see what flows through and then just trust that it's like the best move.
Oh man, that's so interesting because podcast is so undervalued, right? And like I think that nowadays, see, I never even realized that was where media, typical media, were now getting their information from, because I would have thought that they'd seen podcasts as like a threat to them, right? Because a lot of people have shifted
Yeah.
their attention away from these like, mass commercialized media places to now these individual podcast feeds where they can get information that isn't necessarily so filtered. But that's really interesting. And so, was there anything in particular that you think caught the attention of both these podcasts that wanted to have you on? Obviously, I just think what you do with your brand is just. I'm not gonna lie. I never go on social media. I just don't go on it. I look at my stuff. I look at what my audience are asking for, and then I create content around that. And I'm like you, right? I totally do it in flow. My team for Impact School have a way different strategy. They're super structured, but in a day where I feel cool to make content, I will make the content, and then, sometimes it does really well, sometimes it doesn't do really well. For me, interestingly enough, it's actually written content that performs rather than the video content like you, okay?
Wow.
But the reason I bring this up is because I think, sometimes we try to force things. And it's been very clear that through what you're saying, you're very, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're very, very spiritual. Just,
Yes.
I think the same way as you, right? Like, I also lean into things, I feel into things, and then I get ideas and I get inspired. But some people don't really understand that. So maybe, like, your practices that you do as an entrepreneur. This would be interesting to hear, like, how you structure your days, your weeks, even just your ways of leaning into ideas and how you manifest them into the world. Maybe if you want to share that, that's really a new, interesting take that I don't think we hear about enough.
Absolutely. And I agree. I think it's something that's not talked about enough at all. So for me, the way I view and structure my day is through the masculine and feminine energy types. So it's not necessarily boy, girl, or anything like that. The masculine energy type tasks are more of our right brain tasks, right? So those are the ones where we're analyzing things. We got our iced coffee, our to-do list, we're cranking things out. And then we have the left brain or the feminine energy task activities, which is more like getting in a creative flow state, tapping into the intuition, getting those divine downloads. And a mistake that I see a lot of people make when building out their calendars and structuring their day is when they try to flip back and forth between tasks of each energy type. So for example, classic corporate America, right? Like I would be, in a bunch of back-to-back business meetings, I'm analyzing my spreadsheets, doing all these things, and then they'll put like a 30-minute brainstorming thing on your calendar and expect you to come up with this $1 million idea when you were just tapped into that right side of the brain, analyzing everything, or left rather, and not tapped into the creative side. So that's really where it comes into play, is like tapping into either the creative side of the mind or tapping into the more analytical side of the mind and kind of structuring my days those ways. So typically I'll take an entire day to go in and do all my creative activities, right? I'll like go out into nature, I'll meditate, and then I'll come up with the different ideas. And then on a separate day, I'll actually execute. So I'll go in and I'll, create the content and, analyze things and get into the tracking and edit videos and do all the things. So I think really separating out the activities by, left brain, right brain, masculine, feminine energy, whatever you want to call it, right? It's just the overall understanding that like both sides of the brains work differently, and then kind of leaning into which activities fall under which type.
That's really powerful, and something that I think a few years ago I heard a lot of people talking about this, like batching your days and doing different activities on different days. But to be honest, yeah, it's not something that I've heard someone mention for a while. So that's a good point. I need to move back into that myself. Now, with regards to like studying masculine energy, feminine energy, where did you learn this? Like, how did you kind of get interested by that and study?
So I started getting into the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza a few years back, and he does a really good job at like demystifying the mystical, as they would say, right? Because I'm a very left brain type of gal, like studying Microsoft Excel, but I was always a very creative person as well. So for me, like kind of merging the two came down to studying how the mind actually works. And then from a law of attraction perspective, there's always that think positive, good things will happen narrative. But as a very logical Excel brain type of gal, I needed some, structure around that. I wanted some science. I wanted some experiments. And that really helped get my conscious mind on board. So the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza for me was really big on understanding like, okay, if we're going to create our reality, what type of reality do I want to create? If we could create our business, what type of of business do I want to create, So it all kind of flows in together. And then whenever I wanted to grow the business, I would just work on myself because I knew my business would only grow as good as I can get myself closest to that highest version of myself, right? So like if, I wanted the business to grow bigger, but I had all these blocks or self-placed limitations on myself, I knew it wouldn't grow. So I did a lot of work on kind of removing the blocks I was intuitively placing on myself.
Yeah, because you have definitely turned something very left brain into something very right brain through your content, and I can actually see that now you share this, right? Because I never would have thought that you'd be a very, very spiritual person just from the type of business that you have. But it's interesting because the more people I meet who are very, very successful, and the more people I speak to, what I've noticed is this is such a common trend. And then we end up, like, in the beginning, starting to talk about business, like, for the first 10 minutes or so. But then it really does come down to, like, the personal development and the relationships and the connection with ourselves and our energy. That is the things that really I've noticed is the differentiator. And I think it allows you to have that slight edge, because at the end of the day, then you know that everything's going to be fine no matter what. Like, this is just something, a mantra that I always have in my mind no matter what's going on, just because I trust innately in my own actions and in my own energy and connection with everything around me, right? And so it can sound quite confusing to people who haven't necessarily done the work and who haven't worked on themselves, who haven't actually studied these things. But yeah, Joe Dispenza is a great place to start. John DeMartini as well is someone whose work I really, really love in this arena. And also, maybe you've done some stuff like this too, but I used to every morning do, and I did it for years and years and years, to the point where I think the marginal gain just wasn't really benefiting me anymore. But I did self-hypnosis. So I would do 20
Nice.
minutes to 30 minutes of self-hypnosis every morning. Have you done anything like that, or any, additional things on top of learning and studying, practices that have helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the self hypnosis, I've been chatting with Grace Smith and did a session with her. She's
Oh,
incredible,
cool.
has an awesome app on
She's
that.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's so cool. So that's where I started getting into that area of self hypnosis. And then I also did a lot of subconscious reprogramming. So
Yeah.
I would essentially put myself into, a theta brainwave state and go in and reprogram memories that were kind of holding me back through inner child work, did shadow work through there. And then I also practiced Kundalini yoga, which is always kind of working on the psyche and different things like that. And that's kind of how I tune up my energy every day to get myself where I'm projecting like a higher frequency.
Interesting. Yeah, we're so similar with these things. This is really, really cool, because it's these things that we do when no one else is looking, right? That makes all the biggest difference. And then this is how, at least personally, I found that I get the biggest breakthroughs is when I'm not trying to force it. As you said, it's like, it's not when you're in that forced brainstorming session that you're gonna come up
Yeah,
with a great
yeah.
idea. It's when you're in the shower, when your active mind is basically, I'll put it in simple terms, turned off, right? And you're not thinking
Yes.
anymore. That's when it comes. What do you do? Like, okay, maybe you're like me, where I will get ideas in the middle of the night, and like if I don't write it down, it's gone forever. So like one of the things, and I just realized like I don't have it right now, but I got in this habit of having a notepad and pen next to my bed when I was sleeping, because this would always happen. I would wake up to pee, and I've been having like a really valuable dream.
Yep.
And then I would just write it down and like make the content the next day. So how do you organize your thoughts then?
Yeah, we are so similar. I have the same thing next to my bed, the notebook and the pen. I do this night meditation every night. It's like a Kundalini yoga, like mantra thing, but it helps you get divine downloads. So a lot of times during those 11 minutes, I'll get the hit. So I have that next to me right before I go to bed. But then I've literally also had dreams where I'm like working in my dream on the business. And then I wake up and it's like 6 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm just writing all these things down. Same thing.
I have this too. I literally have this all the time, and like no
Yeah.
one ever understands. It's so funny. Okay, I mean, if you can share with me that the evening meditation that you do, that'd be really cool. But I
Yeah.
feel like this is
Yeah, well said.
something so valuable, because these practices, like, gosh, I don't know what it is, but even if it's just in the back of your mind, like the difference it makes just through allowing you to see thoughts that maybe you are having, other thoughts that were blocking these thoughts that were always going to be there. That's what I've at least found to be extremely useful, right? Because I think as entrepreneurs as well, we get so busy, we get so caught up, and one of the most dangerous things is not having the space to be able to actually work on our business or work on new ideas because we're so stuck like in there, building the funnels, creating the content for the clients, right? When really like it's these things that are going to allow us to, rather than just like going, actually increasing our capacity and scaling beyond what we do existingly right now. And it starts with us, right? We are the creators. We are the ones that get to choose what we do, especially because we are building a business which is essentially an entity other than ourselves, right? So it's pretty exciting when we think about it like that. And so, okay, like I love how we just went on this huge tangent because it's so important. It's honestly so important, and I wish people could shadow, someone like yourself for a day just to see what your day really looks like and the breakdown of the actual sort of doing work versus the thinking and the feeling. So, on a rough split on an average day, or maybe like on one of your doing days, what does it look like? And then one of your more creative days, what does that split look like between like actively doing and then sort of personal development, creativity, thinking work?
Yeah, so I would say on a creative day, it's about just getting in that flow state. Like that is the main goal of the day is to hit the flow state. So I live out in Sedona, Arizona. I'm out in the Red Rock, so I like to like go out, like get into nature. It's a very grounding place energetically, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I chose to live here because something, running a business that's so digital, like for me to live in a place that's very grounding was important. So I get outside in nature. I do a lot of breath work and then I'll like get myself into this place where I'm like, okay, like let's just sit and start thinking about content. And for me, I realize it takes a few hours for my brain to kind of get into that zone, and leaving that space for the creativity is one of the big things I feel like a lot of people miss. So I'll take a few hours to kind of just start thinking of ideas, and then all of a sudden it's like click, and it's like all these ideas will pour out. So giving myself that space is really big. And I'll do, it'll probably be like a 3 hour-ish, 4 hour situation. And then on my get things done days, it really depends like, well, what I got going on and what kind of mood I'm in. But because I get into like the habit of like, I'm a generator in human design. That's like that Energizer Bunny type where if you're doing what you love, you just kind of get in there. So sometimes I'll sit and like grind out a lot of things. But other times I'm just like, you know what, I'll clear the inbox today and like feel accomplished. So it kind of depends on the day. But that'll be more of like analysis type tasks. That'll be, getting back to people, responding to emails, things like that.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
an aside, my dishwasher is beeping, so let me turn that off for you, just in case I want to
Yeah,
mess up the recording. One sec.
no, you're fine. Oh, that's funny. I was thinking you were having like
Sorry about that.
a food delivery or something. Someone like was aggressively knocking on your door.
Yeah, no, it is I thought it only beeps once, but it kept going every minute, so I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah,
we
that
gotta
was it
address.
was really wanting some attention there. Very needy. Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
just like, this is
dishwasher.
crazy. We literally, like, I'll have my team cut this part out, but it's just wild. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
the things that we do are so similar. Oh my God, it's crazy. Even the way you think,
It
like,
makes sense.
yeah, to be fair, yeah, it does. Especially, like, I was, I always wanted to go to Sedona as well because I've heard about the energy there. So I'll have to
Yes.
come and visit and I'll let you
Oh my
know.
gosh, come
Yeah.
through. Yeah, let me know if you come here. Like, that's why we moved here because the energy vortexes help the business so much. Like, a lot of people physically put their bodies here during launches. And I was able to track the passive income. And every time I was here, the business would go through the roof and all these things would land in my inbox. And I was like, shit. So I was like, this is where I gotta live, you
That's
know?
That's wild. Okay, okay, this is freaking crazy. Okay, shall we go back into the recording now? Because this
Yeah.
is. Do you want to talk about this, or do you rather not talk about this?
Yeah, sure. I can talk about anything.
Okay, fine. Yeah, like that's good. That's good. Um, okay, so let's think where we just were. Okay, fine. So, um, a question that's coming to my mind is like, what is your leading indicator when it comes to all of your efforts, right? What's the main thing that you look towards? Is it your following? Is it your passive income? Is it your overall like total revenue? Is it your profit? Like email list, what is the main thing that the primary indicators that you look towards in your business?
For me, I would say it's revenue from the perspective because that means the more people we have in the courses, the more people we're helping, right? And the bigger that revenue number goes up, that means more people are in the courses, more people are learning, and the bigger the impact is. So I would say that's the biggest needle mover. Because for me too, like growing the following is great because that means more people are getting those quick tips here and there. But from a full education perspective, the higher the revenue number is, the more enrollments we have and the more people are learning. So that's kind of how I view it.
Okay, so what's your current model? So courses, that term can mean many things these days, right? It can be like a
Yeah.
hands-on consulting program. It can be like a login where they go into the portal and it's self-paced. What's the actual exact model that you guys have?
So I have 10 on-demand courses currently across the Microsoft Office suite, Google Sheets, a kids course, and then I also do live corporate training experiences. So that's like the other side of the business. So all different companies ranging from, I've done these at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Kraft Heinz, all different companies bring me in to host these trainings. I do educational institutions as well. And those are like fun, live 60-minute sessions. I customize them for businesses. And then the on-demand courses are, my creative works of art. Those are where I just like design a super cool educational course, but then I infuse them with as much fun and creativity as possible to make a subject that is traditionally boring to seem really fun. Because after you've seen my content, your girl cannot have a boring course. So I was like, I gotta make this fun.
That's true. They'd be so disappointed if they're like, okay, and today we are going to talk. That's awesome. Okay, this is interesting. And like, if you're open to sharing, what's the rough split between like the kids course versus the on-demand course versus the corporate learning, like on average over the year? Like, what would you say the breakdown is percentage-wise of each different revenue source?
Yeah, so I would say at least 80% is from the on-demand courses. So those are evergreen, and most of them are for our complete Microsoft Office suite. So that's where you're getting all of the different Microsoft Office courses, and it's hands down the best deal. So that's typically the one we have the most people in, which is like the range of all the courses. Because they all come with lifetime access. So for most people, they use them as like these ongoing resource guides.
That's really cool. Yeah, well, I'll leave it linked, of course, in the show
Yeah,
notes as
yeah.
well because yeah, no, that's great. And okay, so your revenue model, is it like a one-time course purchase or is it like a monthly recurring fee?
It's a one-time course purchase with lifetime access to everything.
Okay. Damn girl, you should test doing that, shifting into the monthly recurring. I think you would like 10x your revenue.
We might do something like a totally different style product with that. Because a lot of people too, like, I didn't want it to be like, encourage them to leave the course materials by just taking it for a month and then stopping the subscription. Just because a lot of people get value out of using it later on when they actually go to do something like, oh, I'm going to do a VLOOKUP 6 months down the road. And then they have that as a resource. So from their learning experience, I was like, okay, like it'll serve the people the most if they have it for a lifetime access. But I think I might do something eventually on a subscription model because it's something I do want to play with.
We currently have just a couple of spots open where we'll build out your full sales system for you end to end while we work with you as the founder and CEO on the actual scaling of your business. So if that sounds interesting, just head over to impactschoolpodcast.com/apply. There's going to be a really quick application form for you to fill out there on impactschoolpodcast.com/apply. Yeah, something that I've been thinking about a lot lately is just, what innately causes a company to have value, because I always just think value is a byproduct of the impact that you provide, right? And so I'm just always wondering, and I look at like private equity, and one of the main things and the driving forces that they look at when they're looking at like different non-revenue reasons to why a company has the value, and it is this like consistent cash flow coming from it's like I think it's customer capital, and that's what they call it, because like customers that pay each month, obviously they're more sticky. That's why these SaaS models have such a high valuation when they go to sell, and their multiple, but it's just interesting. Like, it's crazy that, wow, you must have so many clients. My gosh, how many clients do you have? Or if you don't want to share? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. We have over 16,000 students currently, and then we have a ton of corporate clients too. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are like low ticket courses, right? So this is super interesting. It's just a different model. Like, so you're going for more top of the funnel because it's more of a mass market product, because most people use Excel in their jobs. So I'm guessing like most of these people that are buying are people that have jobs? Maybe like analytical work? What other types of people? What's your main buyer?
So it's really a wide range of industries. We do have a lot of analysts across different industries, but we sell to all different groups. We sell to like the military, the government, like everybody uses Excel. We have people in like restaurant industries, we have people in manufacturing, people in traditional consulting, accounting, all those types of things. So it really varies. We have a lot of people in HR, we have a lot of teachers in our courses. So it really kind of it spreads out across the board.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think everyone's probably used Excel in their life, literally. Like anyone that does
Yeah.
some type of online work or going through school, it's so cool because you literally have such a huge TAM, as they say, total addressable market, right? And so like the things that you can do is wild. Have you ever considered like building some type of software tool or something?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about things like that before too, but I haven't found something that really called out to me yet in terms of the tools.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel you. No, I can just imagine like people must come and pitch you all the time for different ideas and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
gosh, I get it. So I can't imagine what you get. And it's hard to know who to trust, right? Especially like, the more you have, the more you have to lose, right? And so people will come
Yeah.
after you for these crazy things. So yeah, I think it's smart what you're doing, like staying focused. And it's a interesting very interesting model that you have turned something so boring into something so fun. And I love that. I just think it's like how can we do this as entrepreneurs? How can we actually chase the innate human desire of, entertainment and curiosity, and self-betterment, and do it in a way whereby we can ensure that things that are actually important to know and that are going to be useful for people, and can benefit their lives, we can share that information in a way that's interesting so that it doesn't just put people off. Because I remember, like, when I was in my accounting, so just side note, like, I was in uni for a year. I dropped out because it was just a load of garbage, right? Because my
Yeah.
accounting professor, like, I don't know, I mean, all this Excel stuff, if I'd have had someone more interesting like you to teach me, I probably would have stayed in that course. And so I just think it's powerful what we can do now with e-learning is that it allows the best in the world, the most entertaining in the world, to then give the one information to the masses. And then it goes to show with what you're doing because this is why you've risen to the top, right? Because you have shown the information in the best way for the people. And I love that. So I just wanted to say, yeah, it's just amazing what you've done. Um,
Thank
Especially with
you.
such a lean team. My gosh, such a lean team. Um, with regards to that though, like, how are you making sure that you're constantly driving your audience into your own email list? Because I see you doing this, right, with your free masterclasses and such.
Yeah.
Um, but what are your what's your approach on that? On building the email list versus building just the audience?
Yeah, so I mean, I grow the email list a lot through the free masterclasses. So typically, I try to figure out what did people want the most, and a free Excel class for a lot of people is just this massive value add. So I was like, okay, I'll start doing these every month or so. So I started doing that, and then each time we would get around 20,000 people registered, and that would be a nice jump for the email list as well. And now we have a really nice newsletter that goes out too, that's constantly educating on different topics and things like that. So yeah, I would say the webinars is the biggest thing that moves the needle in terms of the mailing list for sure.
Interesting. And so, with regards to the newsletters, are you primarily using that to sell your own courses? Do you do like sponsorships and stuff in there? I'm seeing a lot of people shifting now into this newsletter oriented business model. So, it's something that's got my attention at the moment. So, I'm just doing my research.
Yeah, so I have an awesome team that works on that with me, and we do sponsors. So they're always pitching to different people to sponsor sections of the newsletter. And I want it to be something different than what you get on my social media content. So each one has a tech tip, but then it also has a life tip. And I feel like that was an area of my audience that I wasn't really addressing, where people were asking for more tips on like energy, manifesting, optimizing your day, like all those types of things. So half of the newsletter is more of cool tips like that.
That's great. Yeah, I'll have to join because it's fascinating the opportunities that are there now, and I do believe that owning your own data is just so so powerful. I mean, I've even realized like when I make one post and then I always like to set up some automation so that it like goes right in their DMs and they send their email and then that goes right on the email list and then you gain like 500 in your email list just from like one post. For you, it's probably like
Yeah.
5,000, but this is such an easy way to bring in people that are like directly interested. And so Do you know like your conversions from social versus your conversions from email? Do you have that data? I mean, I'm sure you have it
I
on a
don't
sheet
have
somewhere,
the
but like off the top of your
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I feel like the emails definitely convert higher than the social for sure.
head. Yeah. It's crazy to me that so many people don't try to build their own email list. I've seen friends
Yeah.
who have just had this massive following of like 1 million on Instagram, and then they lose it because they get hacked, or maybe in the past they had some like bot on their account um, to gain like 2,000 followers or some. So, because
Yeah.
some people, I don't know if you've had this, like I've had it where people have literally messaged me like, "Hi, I'm just giving you a free trial." This is like a couple years ago where they would like put 1,000 likes on your post, right? And so I had friends that had this done to their account, and now they got banned because they were violating policies. Yeah, it's really crazy. That's really bad. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
never seen that.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be fine because obviously you have, so much press and stuff. These guys didn't have that, but it wasn't even them that was buying the bots. Like it was some random people just because they used to give these like free. They used to give these free demos, um, because then they would want you to buy it. This was a huge issue on Instagram like 3 years ago. But when did you start?
2020, mid 2020.
That's crazy. So before 2020, you were still having your corporate job?
Oh yeah. Day job and consulting up
That's
until January 2021.
what? No way.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. It was so fresh. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah. I
Okay,
didn't
so
start
since
selling courses
2021,
until November 2020.
really? Damn.
Yeah,
How did
yeah.
you
I
learn
started
about
selling
this
them
stuff?
November. Yeah, I mean, I made the accounts in June of 2020 to help people with Excel. It was the start of the pandemic. I had stopped traveling every week for work, so I had some extra time on my hands. And I was teaching Excel on the side at my day job internally for the company just for fun because I loved it. So they had me flying around the US hosting these trainings. And then I put Excel tips on TikTok and no one was doing it at the time. I remember looking around and being like, do people just not like Excel on TikTok? Like, why is no one posting this? And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And by my fourth video, it got 100,000 views. And then by the sixth video, I got a side hustle with an IT company creating content for them. So I would sell them training videos for their platform. And then after a few weeks, I had my first video go viral. I started making courses a few months later. I had made an Instagram at that point and scaled a following across both. And then, yeah, I made my first course in November 2020, started selling it Black Friday. And then 2 months later, was bringing in more passive income than my day job was every month. So at that point, I jumped out of my day job. I built out 9 more courses. I started doing webinars, scaled it to 7 figures from there.
This is huge. Okay, I'm just checking out your TikTok now because I'm not gonna lie, I never touch TikTok. I never go on it. I don't really understand it. I mean, my team are all over it, but for me, I'm like a bit of
Yeah, yeah.
a grandma when it comes to that because I've only seen your Instagram. Now, I think I first found you. Maybe it was from Neil Patel, actually. Maybe.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think it probably
I
was.
think it was.
I think I may have seen you before, but interesting. Okay, so you have a big following on TikTok too. Which one do you find converts better for you?
Instagram. Definitely
Yeah,
Instagram.
this is what I'm saying because whenever I've tried TikTok, I just haven't found that it's been like quality audience members personally for me. I found that it's been people who kind of just like comment mean stuff. It's like,
I found
I
it's
don't know.
definitely easier to go viral on TikTok than Instagram, but then in terms of like the variety of content lacks a little more on TikTok where you can only do like that one style versus on Instagram with like the links and stories and things like that and like having the static carousel posts. There's a lot more content types.
Yeah, these ones are the ones that do the best for me. These swiping kind of it won't
Yeah.
load, but like the Twitter style on
Yep.
Instagram for sure. But then for you,
Yes,
I
yes,
guess
yes.
like people love to they love to see how easy and simple you make something so not easy and not simple, at least for me anyway, for most people. But like it makes me think and it makes me want to ask the audience when you see someone like yourself, Kat, doing this type of content, how can you take these ideas and implement it into your industry, right? So like I remember when I was in fitness, something that I would used to do, these would go viral as well. It was for me that was easy to make viral content there. I find in business a little harder. I'm finally picking up the understanding now, just after kind of taking a year, honestly, off really making content and just focusing on business. But I would literally take something like a deadlift, right, where everyone's always like making all these mistakes. I would literally show the mistake they make, like, and I would point at it with arrows of like why their back is really bad at this, and then I would show the good form, right? And so it's kind of just like taking something and visually representing it in a way that it's easy to understand. That's something now that I'm thinking, okay, how can I do this in my content in which I share, right? So it's got me thinking now. Okay, cool. Finally, Kat, we spoke a lot about like spirituality, personal development, and things like that. And so I want to ask you this, like, where do you see you taking your own personal brand over the next like 3 to 5 years with regards to chasing your passions and the things that you're interested in? Like, what's your game plan?
Love that. So, I mean, it's always kind of hard to tell what's going to happen because I never know what opportunities are going to flow through. But at this point, it's definitely something I'm looking to grow. I started doing keynote speaking. So that's another area in terms of like motivational speaking, keynote speaking. And then I'll probably also create some courses potentially later this year on more of, the energetics around business and mindset and things like that. So it's something that people are always asking me for, and it's a product I'm yet to develop. So that would probably come next after I'm done creating all the Microsoft courses and Google products, of course.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I wonder if like maybe Microsoft would buy your courses and your programs. That would be an interesting play because I mean
They
they're buying up a lot of stuff. So hey, I mean maybe that could be the opportunity there. But like when it comes to, because see, when it comes to Excel and Google Sheets and stuff, what are 2 or 3 like really simple things that you think businesses should actually just be doing, or that they could be doing right now that they're most likely not doing? For example, right, we don't do literally anything. We have a couple sheets that we use for like I guess we use a lot of softwares. Maybe we're spending money on softwares that we don't need to be, and we could do it on sheets. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends what you're doing. But some of the common mistakes that I see people making are just really doing things manually that can be automated. So things, for example, like the lookup functions. I've seen so many people just not trust them or like do them manually, and like they work. It's just a matter of like knowing how to use them. So using lookup functions to combine spreadsheets. I see a lot of people not doing absolute referencing, which kind of ties into that. So that's when you're looking up from the same cell reference multiple times and not having it be a relative reference where it moves around the sheet. That's something that constantly gets people error messages. That's another thing that I'm always like
Wait,
trying to
I don't know what that
dial
means.
up.
Explain it to me like I'm a
It
5-year-old. I basically
so
blanked out Google Sheets and Excel from my mind because my accounting teacher really annoyed me.
So if you may have seen absolute referencing before, and that is when you have those dollar signs inside of your cell.
Ah, okay,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
view those dollar signs when you're seeing them in Excel as little baby lock symbols. So think of like a padlock. So if you ever want to lock a certain cell into place, where if you're referencing it and you don't want it to move around the sheet like everything else, you put the little dollar signs in front to kind of lock it into place. A lot of people will click and drag a formula around, and when they do that, it starts referencing like blank cells or the wrong cells, and then they get error messages. So it's a little tougher to explain without any visual. But think of dollar signs as little lock symbols, and that's for locking in a particular cell reference.
Ah, okay, I got it. Okay, interesting, interesting. I just thought like, yeah, these dollar signs, they just want me to make more money, so I should go back to work.
Dollar signs everywhere. All I see is dollar signs.
That's right. It's just telling me, Lauren, just like go do some more sales. Come on, this is not your zone of genius. Like this is not for you. But that's great. So yeah, like anyone who's struggling, just go buy one of Kat's courses. I'll leave them all linked. Miss Excel all over social media. Kat, this has been amazing. I could honestly talk to you for hours. I know it's getting pretty late in the night for you there, so I'll let you go. But thank you so much for coming on. This has been
Thank
fantastic.
you.
When I'm next in the US, yes, a trip to Sedona for sure. I've always wanted to do a retreat there. It looks so beautiful, and I know what you mean regarding like the energies because um, even when I was in like the Red Rocks, more closer to like Vegas, you can
Yep.
feel the magnetic pull. You can really feel it. And so I'd be excited to see what it's like over there in Sedona because that's something next level. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This was fun, and I'm looking forward to staying connected. And I just got word from my team that around 70% of people that listen to this podcast have not yet hit the follow and not yet hit the subscribe. And if you knew the guests that I have coming up who have multi-million dollar businesses, millions of followers on social media, people just like Kat and others who are in all different industries, niches, all around the world, then you're gonna wanna make sure that you have hit subscribe and that you have hit follow. And if you would be interested in learning more about how Impact School and our scale systems can help you scale your business to the next level, then head over to impactschoolpodcast.com/apply, and then there's going to be a quick application form for you to fill out. We have a few different offerings, but if you go through the application, it's kind of like a fun quiz, then we'll actually be able to know and get you on a one-on-one call with a specialist from our team who is in the right area depending on what you need, right? So we build out sales systems, we ensure that you have predictable lead generation and predictable revenue coming into your business month on month that increases month on month, so that you as the founder don't need to be worrying, and you can then get back into your zone of genius and work with that more intuitive feeling that's going to allow you the freedom to actually be able to scale your company to the next level. So just head over to impactschoolpodcast.com/apply, and I'll see you there.